record. Excellent. All right. Welcome everybody to the info session for the DAN internship program, sort of a subsidiary here of the social science internship program. Over the next 30 to 40 minutes, maybe even shorter than that, I'll try to hustle us along. We value your time here and we don't want to keep you for too much longer than we have to. What's going on here? Sorry. Just to get started here, as I sort of gave away, I'm just going to launch a little poll just to get a sense of where our audience is at. So you should see it on your screen right now. Being that this is the DAN management program, we've primarily focused on the 6 modules for DAN management, but we recognize that there might be some folks here just from elsewhere in social science, so feel free to indicate this. It looks like we have one person here from social science, around 35% from consumer behavior. Accounting is in second with about 30%. We have some representation from legal and management studies and CAM. All right, everybody has voted. Thank you for doing that. Here are the results for those who may be interested. So looks like a pretty even split between accounting and finance, with some other folks from social science bringing up the rear here. Thank you for doing that. It's great to know where our students are coming from. What we're going to cover here today. So we're going to start with the program overview and some information on some of the benefits. We're going to cover information on the application process itself and just sort of what that timeline looks like. We've actually set some time aside for you to apply. We have a nice little QR code that you'll be able to scan. Hopefully we can sell you on the program here and you'll want to do that if you haven't already. It's at that point that I'll actually stop the recording. And as I mentioned before we started recording, we'll launch into a Q&A with our internship panelists. I believe we only have 2 here with us today. I'll myself and Daniel will jump in to fill any gaps that may be left by our other panelists' absence. So that's just a brief outline of what we're going to do here. So the DAN Management Internship Program. This is the primary module that we're here to discuss, but you'll also see that we are covering the short-term social science internship as well. So the DAN Management Internship Program is exclusively a long-term module. So these placements with this program, they run 8 to 16 months in duration, and they are available to students starting in their 3rd year of a 4-year program. So you will apply now for access to placements that typically begin anywhere from the coming May to the following September. And they'll last anywhere from 8 to 16 months. As it says there, it will extend your graduation by 1 year. So you'll very likely finish your program in 5 years instead of 4. But this is sort of offset by the fact that while on internship, you will be earning a salary or a wage. All of the opportunities with our program are paid full-time opportunities which support your professional development. So if you are an accounting student and you're really big on tax audits or anything else to do with accounting, if you're a commercial aviation management student who wants to work maybe as a dispatcher or somewhere else in the field, these are professional opportunities which align with your program and probably align with your career goals as well. And you also earn a full 1.0 elective MOS credit. So if you have any elective credits left to complete in your degree, usually when you look on your checklist, those courses fall toward the bottom of that checklist. If you have 1.0 credits available left to fulfill, this program can count toward that requirement. And we also have the social science short-term internship. So relatively new to the Faculty of Social Science is the social science internship program proper. And this was generally created to ensure a kind of equity with the entire social science faculty. So the dam management program predates the social science program by a number of years. The social science program has a short-term option, that being placements lasting 10 weeks to 4 months. And because the DAN management program doesn't have this module, we also allow students in DAN management or in BMOS to participate in that short-term module as well. So the main difference here is the duration, but there's also the added benefit that students can apply to this particular module beginning in their second year and can reapply to it in their third and fourth years. So for those of you in BMOS who are here listening to us tonight, and you are in your second year, this module is available for you. And if you're in your third year or fourth year, you can also apply to this as well. If you are eligible for that long-term DAN management module, if you apply for that module, you can actually indicate on the application that you would like to be considered for short-term social science postings as well. And provided that your application is approved, you will be able to view postings from both portals or both buckets, or however you want to, whatever synonym you want to use there. So if you're in your third year, there's really no harm to applying to the DAN management, the long-term option, because either way you can indicate interest in those short-term postings. Our short-term postings mostly take place over the summer. Overwhelmingly, the majority of our postings occur in the summer term, but we do have some placements currently from students out on fall placement. I believe that we have 6 students doing a fall placement. We've had a few students in the past do winter placements, and Daniel and I, mostly Daniel as the employer relations developer for the program, are working on sort of shifting the culture and getting more opportunities for students interested in winter and fall opportunities. These shorter term options are worth half a credit, also an elective credit, and because it's a social science internship program, it would be coded as a general social science elective. So a bit of a different coding, but it's still an elective. And we require that students have a minimum of 10 credits completed by the beginning of their internship. So if you're in your second year right now, chances are you only have, probably around 5 credits complete. Basically, this is indicating to you, if this is your particular situation, that you'll only be able to start an actual placement this May. Once your fall and winter courses are in, you won't be eligible for placements this coming winter. So just something to be aware of. And all students can contribute 1.5 elective credits worth of internships toward their program. So if you're in second year, absolutely apply to the short term. If you're lucky enough to land a placement, that's a half credit towards your degree. And then in your third year, you can apply to the long-term option, get a full credit towards your degree for a total of 1.5 credits total. For those of you in your third year, just a little bit on why you should strongly consider doing a long-term placement. So in a sort of a general sense, you'll just get more experience the longer the placement is. This will leave you with a deeper impact. It will help you to further hone your skill set and adapt to workplace culture. And there's the added benefit of also being able to see projects through from start to finish. So students who go out on short-term placements, they're still very valuable and still absolutely worth doing. But there's every possibility that you'll sort of be coming into a role midway through a project. You'll contribute to it, you might help finish it, or maybe you might start something, but you don't really get that sort of long-term overarching contribution to a project. So long-term placements really bring this to the table, so to speak. You'll also demonstrate a level of commitment that you don't really get to demonstrate with the shorter placements. So it's very common nowadays, and I myself have done this as well, sort of bounce around from job to job. You sort of apply for one position, you work in it for a little while, you move on to another position, another position, another position. There's nothing wrong with this at all. It's great to get sort of a breadth of experience, but in doing that, you're not necessarily getting that depth of experience. And you're not necessarily demonstrating a commitment to a single employer or a single role or industry. And, pursuing a long-term placement allows you to do that. You also are more likely to look into part-time or even full-time work following the completion of a long-term placement. So on sort of an intuitive level, the more time and energy and resources that an employer devotes to you as an intern, the more likely they are to try and keep you, because it's just more efficient to transition an intern into a full-time role than it is to hire and train someone new. And by completing a long-term placement, you also set yourself up for future success. So I imagine most of us in the Zoom here today, we've experienced looking for roles to apply to, entry-level positions, and they all seem to require at least a year of previous experience. And it can be very frustrating to see that because it's an entry-level position. If you complete a long-term placement, especially one that's 12 months, 14, 16 months in duration, you'll actually have that previous year of experience that you can pull on. And something to note about that is if you are an accounting or finance student, or just anyone in here today who is interested in pursuing their CPA, part of the CPA designation, one of the requirements is that folks pursuing that particular designation complete, I believe it's 30 months of work experience toward that designation. 12 months of that can actually be counted from previous experience. It needs to meet certain qualifications, but if you have a long-term internship, especially one that is 12 months, there's every possibility that you'll be able to count those 12 months toward your CPA designation, and it sort of gets you ahead in that process as well. So again, longer term placements really do set you up for success in a way that short-term placements don't. This isn't to say that short-term placements don't have their use. They're certainly very impressive. They look great on a CV, they look good on transcripts, and they absolutely help students to set themselves apart from their colleagues and peers. But the longer term placements are something that you should really carefully consider doing. So just a little bit on internship outcomes, what you sort of get alongside the internship. You get sort of you find an opportunity and you'll work on it and you earn money and all that. Sort of alongside that at the university level, you'll also build career development know-how. So you'll do this by working with myself, working with our partners in career education. We have two fantastic career coaches, Monique Hahn and Cam Malthazer. I think I pronounced that correctly. Hopefully he doesn't watch this and correct me later. Who are our career coaches who are social science facing. And then they're also undergraduate career coaches as well. And they're more than happy to work with students either in a drop-in capacity or in an appointment in sort of a one-on-one capacity on, cover letter building, resume construction, interview skills, job searching skills, anything and everything related to career and job hunting. They're there to help you, as am I. You'll be given skills and talents in articulating your particular strengths and interests. So we'll help you sort of figure out a language set, help you identify your skills and sort of really bring those to the fore and make yourself a really, really eligible applicant for employers. Through all of this, will help you to prototype a career path forward. So we'll help you find and identify your interests, look at, what you're doing in school and what you really vibe with, and we'll help you ideally find those positions that really match up well with those skills. And then hopefully we'll take all of this and help you propel yourself into the future. So help you land those positions and develop those skills in unique and meaningful ways. Just a little bit kind of more intricate, a little bit more on the nuances here of what the program offers you. So again, that career development and guidance piece, we have a number of resources that'll also be available through either myself in a drop-in capacity or on our OWL resource pages once you're admitted into the program. Again, you get that elective credit, 1.0 for long-term, 0.5 for the short term. You get access to our internship portal on Western Connect. So if you're not familiar with Western Connect already, I recommend getting familiar with Western Connect. Aside from the internship program, there's a variety of resources and tools available on Western Connect, including our events calendars, an appointments tab that you can use to book appointments with the aforementioned career coaches, all this and more. And yeah, our internship portal is here, and it's actually in that portal where all the opportunities that Daniel works so hard and puts so much care into sourcing for you, they'll actually be made available there. And you'll be free to apply to any and all of those postings that you have access to. And with all of that, you'll also get, again, that feedback and support piece from myself and my colleagues. So what are employers looking for? So, we're all very concerned with our performance in our courses and making sure that we have those appropriate hard skills. We're good with Excel or, whatever it might be. There's actually a lot of research to support the claim that employers are actually looking for more soft skills than not. So this is just a data set. It's a little bit old. It's something, 6 or 7 years old at this point. But we see here that 67% of employers are looking for collaboration and teamwork skills. Over half are looking for skills in communication and problem solving. We want good relationship builders. The industry specific knowledge actually falls further down on that list at 26%. And technological literacy, where a lot of those hard skills might falls even lower. So, if you don't necessarily have that hard skill knowledge that you wish you did, don't sell yourself short, because you probably have a lot of these other skills and a lot of unique perspectives on things that you bring to the table and help set you aside as a unique candidate for a lot of our positions. The burning question in everybody's mind: how much am I going to make? Again, they're all paid opportunities. This is just a slide to sort of illustrate averages and highs and lows. So I should note here that these are yearly salaries. So, if you're doing a short-term placement that's 4 months, your numbers will look a little bit lower than this. If you're doing 16 months, obviously you'll make a little bit more than this, but we can see that students in MOS or DAN management are averaging just under $42,000 per year, sort of topping out around 60 grand and bottoming out just over 30. But again, we have opportunities for all social science students and even, the other faculties, anthropology, sociology, geography, etc. They still keep pretty competitive wages here, hovering sort of around that $40,000 mark. So again, long-term postings, you're going to defer your graduation by a year. You're going to do 5 years instead of 4, but you're going to make a pretty decent chunk of change along the way to help offset any tuition costs and extra cost of living and anything that you might be worried about. So that's something, a very important piece to keep in mind. Some things you can expect from our portal. So the opportunities on our portal, rather. One of the nice things that sort of followed from the COVID-19 pandemic is that it sort of changed our employers' expectations of what work looks like. So it's not only in-person opportunities that we source and make available on the portal. We also have a number of hybrid opportunities and a number of remote opportunities as well. And, these opportunities sort of vary in where they are sort of in the world. Most of them are in Canada. About a third of them fall in London and surrounding area, another third in that sort of greater Toronto area. Another third mostly occurs in the rest of the country. And then we do have a smattering of international opportunities here and there. So yeah, if you're not from Ontario, if you're from Alberta or you're from PEI or wherever, and you want to land an opportunity closer to home, there's every possibility that we can work with you and make that happen. A number of sectors are represented. So you have the private sector, government jobs, nonprofits, startups, really anything and everything, as long as it meshes well with our program criteria. Number of postings ranging from project management, finance, accounting, policy, HR, sales, business development, aviation, some legal stuff. There's lots of opportunity available. You might just have to get a little creative with the job search and with the filters, But again, I'm here as the student-facing coordinator to help you find the roles that mesh well with you. And competition for these roles and exclusivity varies. So some roles will have a lot of applicants, some won't. So, if you find a role that maybe doesn't gel quite with what you're looking for, don't discount it because, maybe other people are discounting it. And if you're the only person who applies, then, that's pretty good for your chances. Some information on the eligibility criteria. So as with anything at a university, you have to be eligible. It's just the way the world works, unfortunately. Currently in the program, we require that students have a minimum 70% average in their previous 5.0 courses. So what do we mean by 5.0? Generally, this means previous year of study. If you were to do 5 courses in the fall, 5 courses in the winter, that would equal 5.0 credits. But we'll also consider summer courses. And a caveat for that DAN management, that long-term module, we require that students have completed or be enrolled in, it says MOS 2257 there, it's really the business administration course. The student at our previous info session very kindly pointed that out to me, and I forgot to change the slides. So it's the business administration course. We require that piece be met or be in progress. If for some reason you apply to the program today and your application is declined based on your academic average, you can apply to be reassessed in January, and we will count your fall 2023 grades toward that calculation. So, maybe you're hovering around the 67% mark. Maybe your first year was a little uncertain, a little uneasy. Maybe you really knock it out of the park this fall. We'll work with you to get you reassessed and get you access to the portal. Says here we need you to be a main campus student. The DAN management program, the MOS module, not the short-term social science option, although there are analogs at the affiliates for that, but specifically the MOS program itself. If you are from the affiliates, Kings, Brussia, or Huron, you can still apply for this program. The only difference is that it won't be me who coordinates you. It'll be one of my associates at the respective affiliate college. But in sort of addition to that piece, we need you to be declared in a social science or MOS major, honor specialization, or specialization. So broadly speaking, you need to be a social science student or MOS student if you're applying to that DAN management specific module. Completed 2 years of study. So again, if you're applying for that DAN management module, you will have completed 2 years of study. You'll be in the 3rd year of a 4-year program. If you're currently in your 2nd year, you are still eligible to apply. You will just be applying for that short-term module. So you only need to have that 1 year of previous study. And then just by way of summarizing all this, you need to be in good standing at Western. So chances are if you hit that 70% average and you're progressing well in your program, you'll be in good standing by default. Some things to consider. So again, for that long-term module, the DAN Management Internship Program, the 8 to 16 month option, you will extend your degree completion by 1 year. So where you would otherwise graduate in the spring of 2025, you will now instead graduate on or around spring of 2026, depending on how long the actual placement itself is. While students are out on the internship itself is the priority. This is to say that your capacity to take courses alongside your internship is limited. You still can, it just requires special permission directly from the Associate Dean's office. And these permissions are generally limited to 1 half-credit course per 4 months of a work term. So if you're doing a short-term option in the summer, you might be able to get permission to take a half credit alongside that. If you're doing an 8-month placement, you might be able to do, a half credit in that first 4 months and another half credit in the second 4 months, and so on and so forth. A note on student services. So while you're out on your internship, you are still classified as a full-time student at Western, but you are not charged any tuition or ancillary fees aside from the US health and dental fee, which we require all students pay unless you can provide proof of alternative coverage, in which case you can opt out of that. And this is to say that access to clubs, recreation center, and use of the bus pass is suspended during that time. So again, just another thing to be aware of. It might be another area where your salary goes to. If you're reliant on the bus pass, you might need to use some of that salary to pay for an LTC member pass or whatever. And scholarship and OSAP recipients. So if you have any continuing scholarships, be they entrance scholarships or whatever, you're permitted to defer these scholarships by a year or however long you need. And OSAP recipients can apply to maintain interest-free status. So you won't be able to pull your OSAP while you're on your placement, but you will be able to sort of pause the interest accumulation of that because you'll still be a full-time student and you won't have to start paying anything back while you're out working. So all that said, what do I do now? We have a handy to-do list here for you. So the first thing you should consider doing, if you haven't already, is you should submit your application on Western Connect. The deadline for this is October 18th, 2023. So it's coming up very soon. Once you do this, you will get approved. And once that occurs, you'll be added to an L resource page where you'll start receiving endless announcements from me, one of which will be about a preparation workshop and assignment. The assignment piece itself is currently set to be due on November 13th. And the workshop itself, the date is still a little bit in progress. We're hoping to offer multiple dates to sort of, catch as many of you folks as we can. And the assignment is just a cover letter and a resume. You're not going to be graded. If it's not a good cover letter or resume, we're not going to kick you out of the program or anything like that. We just want to make sure that we are receiving these documents from folks, and so that we can provide helpful feedback, which will hopefully help you strengthen things. And again, really put that best foot forward when you're applying to jobs. Once you have that in hand and you've got some skills and know-how on creating those application documents, you apply and you're in the active recruitment period. This recruitment period generally peaks in the winter. So again, most of our placements start between May and September, those long-term placements, and most of our short-term placements start in May. So the recruitment period is going to peak somewhere between February, March, April, kind of in there. And while you're applying to application, you're making applications and applying to programs, or rather applying to postings, getting tongue-tied here. We're also going to make available a number of skill workshops through career education. So we'll have interview skill workshops, networking skill workshops, et cetera, and so forth, which will hopefully help you strengthen your ability and strengthen your documents and strengthen yourself as a candidate and help you land that job. Once you land a job, you receive that offer, we'll ask you to attend a pre-departure session. We have a little bit of information in that session on professionalism, your rights as an employee, and a number of other useful tidbits. So we really, really hope that you attend this. And just a note at the bottom here before I move forward, if you're an international student, welcome. One additional piece you'll also want to be aware of is the co-op work permit. This is different from a standard work permit. You'll want to apply for this as soon as possible, ideally before November 30th. By applying for by applying for this particular piece sooner rather than later, we can hopefully avoid any potential slowdowns that might happen in the future. And for any questions on co-op work permits or work permits broadly or study permits, I recommend that you connect with the folks in Western International. They can be found on the second floor of the International and Graduate Affairs building. They have drop-in sessions, and you can also book an appointment online. So definitely give that a look. Once you land a placement, we'll also ask you to sign an internship agreement. And in accordance with this, we'll also ask you to pay the internship fee. The fee itself is currently set at $500 per 4 months of a work term. So if you're doing a 4-month summer placement, you'll pay $500 flat. If you're doing an 8-month internship placement, you'll pay $500 at the start. So let's say you start in May, you'll pay $500 in May, and then the following semester start, which would be September, you'll pay another $500. Something that's important to note here, we only ask you to pay the fee if you were successful in landing a placement. So if you go through all of this, the whole process, you apply to the program by October 18th, you attend the resume and cover letter workshop, you're going to other workshops on interview skills and networking, you're coming to see me to work on your professional development, and you're talking with our career coaches and all of that. If at the end of all of that, you are unfortunately unsuccessful in landing a placement, we don't ask you to pay the fee. You get all that professional development for free. It's only if you land a placement that we ask you to pay the program fee. The fee is essentially how we keep the lights on. It's how we offer you all the professional development and assistance and support. And it's also how we offer all of the deliverables with the program. So speaking of deliverables, we see there under item 6. So you'll start going out and earning your experience. And then you'll have a midpoint reflection call with me, depending on how long your placement is. This will occur at different times. It might be 2 months in, 4 months, however many months in. And then there'll also be a final presentation piece if you're doing a long-term placement. And there'll also be the final reflection piece. So the deliverables are pretty light. They're intentionally light, and they're just designed to guide you in the reflection and make sure that you're sort of tying your work experience to your class experience and vice versa. And yeah, while you're out working, you'll still have all of us supporting you behind the scenes. I'll be available through email or Zoom calls if need be. Our career coaches will be there if need be. And even Daniel will be there if need be, if there's anything that comes up between you as an employee and the employer. So after all of that, you return to your classes. If you're a long-term intern, I should say, you'll return to your classes by September 26th. So we ask that all long-term interns return to campus by September of the year following their placement. So if you start a placement in 2025, I think I messed that up. I think that's supposed to be a 2025. It doesn't matter. You have to return by a certain point. And again, international students, please apply for your co-op work permit as soon as possible. A little bit on Western Connect. So this is a bit of an outdated slide, but broadly speaking, if you sign into Western Connect, you can do so by using the credentials you would use for OWL and anything else. You'll see something that looks like this. If you click on Internship Co-op on the left, you'll get a menu that looks like this. Click Apply to a program, and depending on which program you want to apply to, you'll either select Management and Organizational Studies Internship, MOSI, or if you're in your second year and only eligible for that short-term piece, you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the list and you'll see short-term social science internship. And again, for the long-term applicants, you're able to indicate interest in the short-term postings. So even if you're only keen on the short-term placements, but you're eligible for the long-term placements, it's still worthwhile applying, because maybe you'll find an 8-month placement that just really, really sparks your interest. Yeah. So with that said, I'll pause here. This QR code will take you to the student sign-in page for Western Connect. Again, you can log in just using your student username and password. So everything in your email up before the @UWO, that's your username, use your password. I didn't update this, but if you actually do that, once you sign in, the first thing you should see is a big button that says click here to apply to internships. If you click on that, you'll get that menu that says apply to a program, and you can select your desired program from a list. Fill out the required fields. I think there's 4 or 5 or 6 things that we ask you, and it's pretty low stakes. Our application is really more of a declaration of interest than anything. So yeah, you can fill that out and submit, and we'll hopefully get you assessed within the next couple of weeks and get you added to the internship portal. So just linger here for a couple more seconds, just in case there's any last minute scanners. Okay. And a final piece here. So let's say you go through all of this process and you're just not finding anything on Connect that interests you. First of all, we're sorry to hear that. We do everything we can to source a wide variety of opportunities. But secondly, you are able to source opportunities from outside of our portal, and we actually recommend it. It helps us to grow our network of employers. It helps us to develop new relationships. And yeah, it just sort of allows us to meet you where you are and really tailor the internship program to your particular interests and career goals. So on our website, if you're ever looking around, you'll probably see an option that says arranging your own internship. This will link you to a form which will allow you to apply to our program with your found opportunity. We'll perform some assessments behind the scenes, and if it all checks out, we'll get you enrolled in the program with your opportunity of choice. And finally, because it's very close, very near to us on the horizon, we just want to plug the career fair. So this is happening next week on October 11th and 12th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's an opportunity where a number of our employer and community partners come to campus. It's a great opportunity for students to pop by and sort of start their networking pieces, get to know some of the talent from those companies, ask questions. And yeah, it's just a fantastic opportunity. So, if you haven't already, book some time in your calendar to stop by this fair, because it's not an opportunity that you want to miss. And with that, I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you for those at home for watching, and we hope to see your application soon.